So again, within Bluebeam, you typically start out from an invitation. And once you get that invitation, you get your session ID or session ID link. You enter into Bluebeam and you enter into what you see here, which is Bluebeam Studio. And here is a Bluebeam Studio session. So Bluebeam is organized with typical pull-down menus. And it has menus on the left-hand side and the right-hand side as well. These are probably going to be more important than what you see at the top because this is where the majority of work happens. We always start with Bluebeam Studio because that allows us to get into a Bluebeam Studio session here. And so the session is this icon, and you'll see that icon repeated as we're working. We're here, we've entered into our session, and we see the attendees within the session, and we see the drawing set within the session. If I go ahead and click on one of these drawing sets, you'll see that it opens up, and this actually already opened up automatically for me. But you see it's open as part of the session, and I know that because I see this icon, which is the same as this icon. So maneuvering around your screen is pretty easy. I can make this larger or smaller just by dragging. Also, what I can do is I can click, and that will close this off. Same thing with the bottom. I can click and get more screen real estate as I work. And so as I am working through with Bluebeam Studio, once I get to the drawing I want using that session, I can probably close this side because everything I'm doing from this point forward, once I have the drawing open, happens on the left-hand side. So you can see here we have the thumbnails. Excuse me. So you can see here we have the thumbnails in place, and these thumbnails are probably something you're already used to if you've used Acrobat or something else. It gives you the sheet number here, and also it shows a little preview of the drawing. So if I click, I can go to that drawing. Now notice that this is running a little slow, and so you probably won't use thumbnails all that much. What you'd rather use, because they work a little bit better, are the bookmarks. So when I click on the bookmarks, you can see this really pretty much replicates a sheet index on a set of drawings. And so if I only am interested in working in, let's say, mechanical, I can come just to this mechanical and expand that out and click on those particular mechanical drawings. When I click on those, it'll take me to those particular ones. If I want to also look at sprinkler, I can do the same thing. Come down here and just work within specific sets using the bookmarks. This is a very fast way to navigate around your drawing. If you have everything expanded out, you can scroll through really easily and find the drawing that you want. Another good way of navigation is using hyperlinks. Now, hyperlinks are seen on the drawing itself. So if I'm looking at the drawing and I look, a lot of times I will see some yellow that indicates hyperlinks. If you don't see that yellow, that's okay. Just note that when the mouse moves over, that mouse changes to a little finger, just like on a web page. And so you know when you look at this and the mouse changes, that will typically get you to a different sheet that you click on. Now when I'm here and I see callouts for, let's say, sections or elevations, again, I can click on that S5.33 and I will automatically go to that page. So these are a very handy way to maneuver around your drawing. When I'm looking through, again, I can have the bookmarks open, come down, and go to one of my plans, and then within the plan I see all of these other hyperlinks. Now I'll start to use hyperlinks to get into, let's say, an elevation. Within that elevation, maybe there's a call out to a detail or an enlarged plan. I'll click on that and I'll get to that particular spot. So maneuvering around this set of drawings is pretty easy. One last thing to note is that the tool chest up here is how I come to actually make my markups. Now there's a whole bunch of videos on making markups, so I'm not going to cover that here. I just want you to note where the button is though for the tool chest. As we're working, there's a couple things you want to note. One is that you want to keep an eye on this connected button to make sure that it maintains its connection. If you start to have problems, It's probably because your connection's been lost. And another thing to note is that connection's important because you see up here there's no save button. And there's no save button because it's constantly saving the documents as you're working, as you're making your markups here at the bottom. So that concludes maneuvering around your document in Bluebeam. So that concludes general navigation of the document in Bluebeam.